Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiffany and in today's video we are doing some baking. We're back in the kitchen and I know you guys love the cook with me videos and so we're all on the same wavelength. You guys requested some fall recipes. I had already gone to the store and purchased some things so we can get started with that. So in today's video, we're gonna be doing some fall baking. I've got some recipes for you, for your family, as well as things that you can give as gifts. So first, we're gonna be making some oatmeal cookies that are divine. They're basically an everything but the kitchen sink cookie. They're oatmeal with chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, toffee chips, sea salt. They are to die for and they look really good. They're such great presentation. You're gonna love those. We're also gonna be making an old-fashioned apple crisp, your just traditional, delicious fall dessert that you can bring to a Friendsgiving. You can make for your family on a weeknight. That's what we're gonna be doing tonight. And it is so good, such a comfort meal. You can even warm it and eat it in the morning with your coffee. It's so delicious. And finally, we're gonna be making some some pumpkin and cream cheese cookies. These are a frosted cookie that are so divine. They're almost like a little cupcake in a cookie shape. They're so good. So can't wait to share those with you. Let's go ahead and get started. To get us started today, I'm going to work on the apple crisp so we can get this into the oven. So I'm starting off by peeling 4 Honeycrisp apples. You can choose whatever kind of apple you would like. These are my go-to. They're very sweet and crispy. So I'm going to go ahead and peel 4 of these and then we're going to get them diced up and into our mixing bowl. I've been asked a lot of questions about the knife that I use in all of my videos. This is the knife. Of course, it's not focusing. This is it. It is a WUSTHOF 6-inch chef's knife. 6-inch chef's knife. Say that 100 times fast. So the WUSTHOF 6-inch chef's knife. I love this knife. It fits great in my hand. I'm kind of a smaller person, so I didn't want the bigger knife. This is kind of like a go-to. You can do everything with this knife. It is expensive, I'm not gonna lie, but it is an investment. So even if you just have one good knife that you can use in your kitchen all the time, I would highly recommend it. And the chef's knife, I feel like, is a good one. So I'll have this linked for you down below. I buy them from Williams-Sonoma. You can find coupons on them. They're a great thing to ask for a Christmas gift, but I get asked all the time about my knife. It's WUSTHOF, like I said. I'll have it linked for you down below. And let's get back to cooking. For this recipe, you're going to want your apples to be small enough that they cook through thoroughly, however, large enough that they don't turn into mush. So I would say you're looking for about 1-inch cubes. And like I said, go ahead and cut those up and add them into your mixing bowl where we're going to season them and make them absolutely delicious. Have to be honest, I did steal a couple bites while I was cutting these up. Now we're going to go ahead and add in the other ingredients. We're starting off with 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm using granulated sugar here. Next up, you're going to add in about 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And you're also going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. This is going to help your apples from turning brown. Go ahead and stir those up so they're fully combined and make sure that all of your apples are fully covered. Go ahead and grab a baking dish of your choice, and you're going to need to make sure that it's nice and prepared. So for this, I'm using some butter. You can just use nonstick spray if you would prefer, but I just put in about a tablespoon of butter and spread it around with a paper towel. And now we're going to add our seasoned apples into the baking dish. So I would say you want to use an 8x8 or a 9x9 baking dish. This is just a nice casserole dish from Hearth and Hand at Target. I love this dish. Comes with a beautiful copper holder and it looks really pretty in your presentation. So go ahead and spread out your apples into a thin layer. And now we're going to work on the toppings. So you're going to start off with your oatmeal. You need about 3/4 a cup of oatmeal. Go ahead and add those into a mixing bowl. And then you're also going to add in your flour. For the flour, you need about 3/4 a cup. So add that in. Make sure that you are spooning your flour into your measuring cup. Never scoop your flour with the measuring cup because that will put too much. It'll pack it down. You'll end up with too much. You're also going to add in a little dash of salt as well as some butter. Now you're going to need 1/2 cup of cold unsalted butter. So make sure that you just kind of dice it up into small cubes because you're going to be cutting this into your oats and your flour and your brown sugar, which we're going to add. That's the one thing I forgot to add, but we're going to add it. Don't worry. You're going to need a cup of a light brown sugar, but just go ahead and break up your butter here so that it's easier to cut into the rest of your dry ingredients. That's the big key when you're making a crumble. You want everything to be able to combine easily. Like I said, finish this off with a cup of brown sugar and it'll be ready to combine. I'm going to be using a pastry cutter to make sure that all of my ingredients are combined, and I'm using a 1/2 cup measuring cup there, by the way, so just in case you were curious. You're also going to add in a teaspoon of cinnamon, and like I said, I'm using my pastry cutter here to just roll it back and forth and cut all of the butter into the rest of the ingredients. It takes a little bit, but it'll get nice and crumbly like this. That's why it's called a crumble. Then you're going to go ahead and, or crisp, it's a crumbly top that gets crispy. Go ahead and spread that across the top evenly, starting off slow here, making sure that all of the parts are covered, all the apples, and then just spread it out evenly across the top of the apple slices. Apple crisp is fully covered. Go ahead and pop it into a 350-degree oven for about 40 to 50 minutes. I put it at 45 and it was perfect and delicious and golden brown. So we're going to get started on our pumpkin cookies now. We're going to need to bake those so that way we can frost them. So I'm starting off by, again, spooning in the flour. This is so important when you're baking. I know it might seem like an extra step, but it really just makes a big difference in making sure that you're not putting too much flour into anything that you're baking, because that happens very, very easily. When you put too much flour, things can become really dense. So just make sure that you're spooning it in. And for this recipe, you're going to start off with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. That's what I'm using here. Next up in your dry ingredients, you're going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, followed by about 3/4 a teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt here. Followed by 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. This is where you're going to give it all of its flavor. 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. finally, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves. That'll be absolutely delicious. Go ahead and stir it around with a whisk. This is just going to help to combine all of your dry ingredients. Then you can just put those to the side until you're ready for them. Moving over to our stand mixer, I'm going to start by adding in 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's been softening on my countertop, followed by 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of light brown packed sugar. So go ahead and pack that into your measuring cup there. I'm using 1/4 of a cup. So that's why I'm using 2. You need 1/2 of a cup total for this recipe. And you're going to cream your butter and sugar together now. So just let it stir and combine until it's a nice light brown or light yellow color, just to make sure it's all kind of combined together. Make sure you're scraping the sides of your mixing bowl. A lot of your ingredients will just start to kind of accumulate up the sides, and scrape the bottom as well to make sure that all of that is combined. Next up, you're going to add in 1 large egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give that a quick stir to make sure that those are fully combined. The final wet ingredient for these pumpkin cookies is 1 cup of canned pumpkin. Once your wet ingredients are fully combined, you're going to go ahead and spoon in your dry ingredients. You can do this in batches. Start off with 1/2 of the bowl and then combine that, then add in the rest. For me, because my bowl was nice and deep and the wet ingredients are pretty wet, I felt like it was okay to just put in all of the dry ingredients at once. So that's what I did here. Go ahead and stir that until it's fully combined. Make sure that you're scraping down the sides and the bottom to make sure everything is fully combined before getting your cookies spread out on your cookie sheet. You're going to want to use a lined cookie sheet. So for me, I've got this silicone pad here, and I'm using a smaller 1 to 1.5 inch cookie scoop here to make these cookies. So they're kind of smaller. I like to use an ice cream scoop for some cookies, but for these, it's a little bit smaller. And you're just going to lay your cookies out about 2 inches apart. Give them space to rise and to spread. And these are going to be baked again at 350 degrees, anywhere between 9 and 15 minutes. It's just going to depend on how your oven works. I put mine at 13 minutes and they were perfect. These are a little bit cakier. They're going to have a little bit more of a spongy consistency, but they're absolutely delicious. While those were baking, our apple crisp was ready to come out of the oven, and that looks divine. I cannot wait to eat that. Once your pumpkin cookies are done, go ahead and remove them from your sheet pan and let them cool on a cooling rack. We're going to frost these, so you want to make sure that they're fully cooled off before you do. Once those are done, go ahead and work on your next batch and keep going until all of your batter has been used. This does make a significant amount of cookies, so you're going to do this probably about 3 times. Next up, we're going to work on what I call the kitchen sink cookie. These are my absolute favorite, and they are so delicious and easy to make. It's actually a copycat recipe of the CRUMBL Mom's Recipe cookie. They're so, so good. So start off with a half a cup of butter that's been softened. Add in a third of a cup of brown sugar and a fourth of a cup of regular sugar. And you're going to cream that together. This is the start of any delicious cookie. It's the start of delicious chocolate chip cookies. So just make sure that you're scraping the sides of your bowl and getting your butter and sugar completely combined until they're nice and soft and a pretty yellow color. Top off your wet ingredients with 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and 1 egg, and then make sure you stir this until they're completely combined. We're going to work on combining our dry ingredients now. You're going to start off with a cup of all-purpose flour and 1 1/4 cups of old-fashioned rolled oats. Next up, you're going to add in a half a teaspoon of baking soda, followed by a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Again, I'm using kosher salt here. You're also going to add in an 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon into your dry ingredients, and go ahead and give that a good stir, and your dry ingredients will be ready to add to your wet ingredients. So grab your bowl, go ahead and pour these into your mixer and give it a good stir until it's fully combined. The final ingredients are arguably the best. You're going to start off with a half a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, as well as half a cup of peanut butter chips and a 1/4 of a cup of toffee chips. You can find these all in the baking aisle at your grocery store. The toffee chips are normally Heath Bar, and I might have put just a little more than a 1/4 of a cup because I love the toffee chips the best. Go ahead and give that a quick stir until it's fully combined, and then make sure that you scrape all of the edges of the bowl as well as the bottom of the bowl, making sure that all of those last ingredients get combined with all of the rest of your dough. Remember that this cookie is a CRUMBL cookie knockoff, so you want these to be nice and big. So I'm using an ice cream scoop here to scoop out our dough onto a silicone lined sheet pan. You're going to fit about 6 on your sheet pan at once, and top off each cookie with a little bit of sea salt, and then pop these into the oven. They will be 350 degrees for about 11 to 12 minutes. And when they're done, this is what they look like: golden brown and absolutely delicious. Now that all of our pumpkin cookies have cooled, we're going to go ahead and work on frosting them. You're going to start off with 5 tablespoons of softened butter.
Next up, you're going to add in 1/4 ounce of cream cheese. That's about half of a cream cheese package. Make sure that this is close to room temperature and nice and soft so it's easy to combine. Go ahead and give that a quick stir with a hand mixer. Make sure that you're working out any of the lumps, and you want this to be nice and smooth. It is frosting after all. And then you're going to add in 2 cups of powdered sugar. Once you have that smooth and combined, add in about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I top it off with a little pinch of kosher salt because that makes every buttercream or frosting just taste a little bit better. Go ahead and combine that again until it's fully smooth and looking delicious, and then it's going to be time to add a little frosting to every single cookie. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the end of this Cook With Me video. Our apple crisp is looking absolutely delicious. Our pumpkin cookies are smelling incredible, and our oatmeal kitchen sink cookies are divine. My family could not wait to dig into these, and I hope that you give them a try yourself. They're so good. They're great for gifting. They're great for bringing to someone's house if you are going for Thanksgiving or for a fun supper club. These are all great recipes that can be brought with you anywhere and shared. I'll make sure that I have all of these recipes linked for you down below. If mine on the screen look a little different than the ones that you see listed below, it's just because sometimes I do things a little bit differently to make them work for me and my family. But for the most part, I try to follow the recipe pretty closely. I hope that you enjoy, and I hope you are having the most beautiful, warm, and cozy fall season. I'll see you guys in the next one.